Hello all, it's the Bookworm, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time, please click the subscribe button to keep updated with our content and more audiobooks to follow. Today, we will be listening to the Tales of Deltora. I do hope you enjoy. For countless ages, the sea seemed unchanging to the people of the land of dragons. That was because they saw only its surface, gleaming in the sun by day and heaving black beneath the stars at night. They could not see that far below, the nameless monsters, blind, jealous, and bloated, were burrowing deep and deeper into the seabed. They did not know that in places not far from their island, the rock of the seabed had grown thin as an eggshell, and that the fiery core of the earth below, hotter than a dragon's breath, was preparing to belch forth its fury. The tribe of the West, a grave, black-haired woman, wise in the ways of magic, sensed that a great terror was coming. In the meeting house of woven branches, the leaders scattered fortune-telling stones. They saw that the stones meaning fire, water, death, and marriage fell together time after time, but they did not know what to think of it. The dragons, too, sensed that the change was coming. They felt the land quiver with the knowledge. They smelled it in the air, but they did not wonder what it meant. They merely watched and waited. And there came a morning, a beautiful still morning, when the sky, like a perfect blue bowl set over the sea as smooth as glass, when the birds and insects of the island fell silent, and the beasts in the field raised their heads. The dragons knew it was time. A great glittering rush they took to the air rose from every corner of the island, from the rocks and the dunes of the west and the east, from the shady shores of the south, from the forests, plains, and hills of the center, and from cliffs of the north. There were thousands of them, thousands upon thousands. There were so many that their great leathery wings, glimmering with all the colors of the rainbow, blocked the sun. The people of the seven tribes gasped in terror. The earth trembled beneath their feet. The sky was dark with dragons. There was a low sound from the earth, as if the sea itself was growling. And then those who that day were near the north shores saw the sea turn white. The beasts of the sea were whipping the water to a foam as they struggled to flee, but it was too late to flee. With a mighty roar, the seabed split and the fire belched upwards. The sea boiled. Great slabs of melting rock burst through the churning surface in a hurricane of steam hurled into the air as if by a giant hand. The land of dragons quaked. Great cracks opened in the hills. The earth fell to a rumble, and new hills grew. The air was thick with steam, and pale, slimy, dead things fell from the sky like rain, and still fire and water met and raged beneath the sea, each battling to quench the other. The people howled like beasts and fell to the ground, clapping their hands over their ears. The sound was frightful. The sights were sights of terror. They heard a thunderous crashing groan of rock, and the island shuddered. They thought, the end of their world has come. But their world had not ended. It had merely changed. And when those who were left alive crawled to their feet in the exhausted silence that fell upon the land at last, they saw how it was, at least in part. The sands and bays of the northern coast were gone, buried beneath towering mountains of rock torn from the seabed. The high, rugged headland of the northwest had become one peak among many that now stretched in a grim, unbroken line from west to east, and on that first day, what was behind those mountains only the dragons knew. Only the dragons flying high above had seen the space between the land of dragons and Green Island to the north disappear as a crackled seabed collapsed and folded in on itself. While the water turned to steam, only they saw two islands collide, their coasts forever sealed together by melded rock and the weight of the new mountain range. The twin islands had become one. Fire, water, and death had brought about a marriage, just as the stones of the west had foretold. But the 7 tribes of the land of the dragons do none of this on that first day, and if they had known, they would not have cared. Mourning their dead, mourning the destruction of their homes and villages, they wandered their changed territories like lost souls. Nothing was as it had been. For 7 days and 7 nights the sun was masked by clouds, and salt water fell like rain. The thick air stank of death, and the dragons did not come to land. But on the 8th day, the rain stopped. A light breeze came and blew away the clouds and the stink of death. Sun shone again, and the people, raising their faces gratefully to its light and warmth, saw the dazzle of rainbow colors as the dragons swooped to the earth. And on that day, one by one, each tribe made a discovery. The great cracks had opened in the earth, had created hills and valleys, caves and rivers where none had existed before. But they had done more than that. In each territory, the splitting rock had given up a great secret, a wondrous gem from the deep within the earth. The people of each tribe marveled as they felt the power of the gift the land had given them, a talisman born of its own suffering, promising protection to a new beginning. And that day did indeed mark a new beginning for the land of dragons. New rivers ran now from the mountains to the seabed. The earth grew rich and fertile. The land blossomed, beasts fattened, and fruit hung heavy on the vines. The people of the coast went out in boats and caught fish, for vast numbers of the sea monsters had died in the battle of fire and water, and their reign of terror had ended. The green land, on the other side of the mountains, remained a mystery. The island had become one, but the two peoples were as far apart as ever. The mountains had separated them where a fearsome a barrier as the sea had once been. The monsters tore from the deep, survived in dripping lairs deep within the rocks. In the cold, wet darkness they grew strong, bred, and changed. So the mountains became a place of terror, the refuge of scoundrels, bandits, and murderers who needed to hide where no dared to follow. Some of the curious from the land of dragons went around the mountains buried by the sea. They drew their boats up on the shores of the beautiful green land they knew as Twin. They smelled its sweet air and stepped onto its white sand, but try as they might, they could move no farther. Powerful magic held them back, and at last they were forced to leave with their curiosity unsatisfied and their gifts of friendship ungiven. The beginning of the Twin had no wish to trade, tell tales, or know their neighbors. It seemed they did not desire company, so after a time the people of the land of the dragons almost forgot that another land existed behind the mountains of the north. They looked outward for their pleasure. They sailed the oceans far and wide. They found other lands and brought back treasures, ideas, strange foods, and beasts and birds from far away. But at home they rarely stayed beyond their borders. At home each tribe stayed in its own place, and each tribe jealously guarded its talisman, the gem of power that had been the land's gift after the time of the trial. Each tribe thought itself especially rich and favored for it, did not know that other talismans existed. The dragons knew, though. But each dragon drew strength only from the gem of its own territory and cared nothing for the rest. And the land knew, but it could not speak to those who would not hear. So again it waited, biding its time.